Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the John Quintero Show, San Diego Sports Talk on YouTube. We're with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:30, trying to keep you up on everything going on in the world of sports in America's finest city. And every once in a while, we venture out and talk about other things, and we're going to definitely do that today. We're going to talk about the postseason awards. We're going to talk about the Veterans Committee coming up with 8 players that will be voted on in early December for the Baseball Hall of Fame. We're going to talk a little Aztec football. We're going to get to some of your questions from our previous show, and just a lot to dissect on a Friday. We're even going to talk a little bit about Sean Lewis and the Aztec football program. We have one guest coming up at 9:45, our weekly Friday guest, John Maffei. We're going to talk postseason awards with him. We're going to talk Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're going to take a look at some of the really, really good matchups on Friday night in high school football, the open division and all the other divisions as well. There are going to be some great games all over San Diego County on Friday night. But very happy you joined us. And again, if it's your first voyage with us, we would ask you to subscribe to our channel. We're trying to build this channel. We're trying to do something really, really special here with our podcast. And still dialed in, folks. Still talking to all the people I need to talk to get you valuable information, and we're going to be right on it. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we really appreciate that. You can follow me on Facebook at John Quintero. You can follow me on X at Coach Quintero 44. And with that, I want to congratulate 4 of our Padres. Yesterday, the all MLB team was announced. We didn't have anybody on the first team, but really hard to argue. But I was very happy to see that 4 of our Padre players were named to the second team yesterday. Manny Machado, well deserving. He got beat out by Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians, and hard to argue with that. I mean, Jose Ramirez only hit 39 home runs and hit 279, 118 RBIs, and stole 41 bases, and plays a good, solid third base. Jackson Merrill named to it. And 2 pitchers, Michael King and Dylan Cease, very well deserved. So congratulations to those 4. And I want to get into the Padres here a little bit. And you and I both know that the Padres a few years back made a commitment to try to get to the World Series and win a World Series so we could have the parade down Harbor Drive. Okay. And right now we're kind of teetering a little bit. We missed a tremendous opportunity this past year. I mean, this was really our year for a variety of different reasons. Okay, I mean, you got everybody in place. Profar had a career year. Jackson Merrill had as good a rookie year as anyone that I can remember ever in a Padre uniform. In fact, I think by far it's probably the best rookie year in Padre history. And there's some guys that had some good years. There's no doubt about it. Benito Santiago was a National League Rookie of the Year. Kevin McReynolds had a great rookie year. I mean, there are a lot of guys that have had good years, but Jackson Merrill above and beyond. Fernando, a solid year, and he missed a lot of time, but when he played, he was good, and Peralta filled in and did a really nice job. Manny, slow start, got it cranked up, did a good job. The pitching staff overall, mixing and matching. They had injuries. Darvish was gone. Musgrove was in and out of the rotation. It was a good year. And then they fortified that bullpen at the trading deadline. And then I look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers were all beat up in their pitching staff. This was the year. This was the year. Not only that, Mookie Betts missed a bunch of time. Max Muncy missed a bunch of time. Freddie Freeman missed time up there with the Dodgers, and they were having all kinds of problems. But they win the division, and we know how they came back against the Padres, and they end up winning the World Series. And we left a golden opportunity out there. I mean, even Kike Hernandez said, we beat the best team in baseball in the Padres, then we played the Red Hot Mets, and then we got the great New York Yankees. Everybody's talking about how great the Padres were. Well, the Padres didn't get it done. And that was a golden opportunity. But now, Joe Musgrove is going to be out the entire year. He's not coming back. We'll see Joe in 2026. He's got 3 years left. He'll sit out 1 year. We'll have 2 more years of Joe Musgrove. We got Yu Darvish coming back, hopefully for the entire year. We got Dylan Cease coming back for at least 1 more year. Michael King for at least 1 more year. We need another pitcher. I mean, legitimately, if the Padres want to really, really go after it, because we know they got other holes. I mean, we got to figure out shortstop. Are they going to be content with going with Xander Bogaerts at shortstop? I think I would be. Then you got to figure out who's going to play second base. I mean, the easy move is move Cronenworth over there and put Arise over there at first base. And I will tell you this, I thought Luis Arise got better. The more he played at first, the more comfortable he got. He could work on it in the offseason. But we'll see where that goes. But then you got to figure out what you're doing in left field. Profar, I think, has priced himself out of San Diego. I don't think you can give him 12 to 16 million. But the Padres need to go get one of these aces. And there's 3 of them out there, and we're waiting to find out if and when Roki Sasaki is posted by the Chibalati Marines. And, I hear all kinds of stuff on him. Last night I was reading Jim Bowden, who, the former general manager of the Reds and the Nationals on, MLB radio. And I think he's got some really good takes. But, some of his takes I'm not convinced of. He said that Sasaki won't sign with the Dodgers, and I hope he doesn't. I hope he signs with the Padres. But I think the teams that are in line for Sasaki, no doubt the Dodgers are number 1. Padres are right there, and I think the New York Yankees. I would be surprised if he went to Seattle or to the Mets. I think he wants to be on the West Coast, and I don't necessarily think he wants to go up in Seattle. I think he wants to go to a place that can continue to develop him. And that's what we understand he said. I want to go to an organization that can continue to develop me. Well, the Dodgers have a great track record. The Padres, I think, have a good track record with guys that have come in here from other organizations. And Ruben Niebla has, put his handprints all over them, and they've done a good job. But it's not like the Padres have this long history developing pitchers in their organization with this current regime. It's been a while. But Sasaki, we'll see when he's posted. Hopefully he's posted soon, and the best team out there will find a way to get it done. Padres are going to have some money. They'll have some money. Dodgers right now probably have the most left over from 2024, and everybody gets a new allotment in January. So we'll see where it goes. But, I mean, you got Blake Snell out there. He's rumored. The Giants, Padres, Rangers. You got Max Fried, Cubs, Padres, Rangers. Corbin, Burns, Mets, Orioles, Red Sox. I'm telling you right now, Padres need, and I know that they're trying to watch their pennies, but they flat out got to go get one of these shooters. They got to get one of these frontline pitchers. If they do that, then I think we can really talk about winning the World Series. Right now, I don't think so. I think we're going to finish behind the Dodgers again. We're going to be, a wild card, maybe the first, second, or third wild card. I don't know. But I do think even if we don't sign one of these frontline pitchers, you fortify that bullpen, you figure out what you're doing behind the plate, you figure out maybe getting a journeyman left fielder, maybe even use that as a platoon position. They're one of the better teams in baseball without doing anything. But at the end of the day, if we want to sit here and you want to spend your hard-earned money going down to Petco Park night after night after night, filling that place to capacity, and really have a legitimate chance of winning the World Series, you got to go get another shooter. Now, that's not to say that the Padres couldn't sign somebody, late or make a trade at the All-Star break or prior to the trading deadline. But I'd like to get that guy right from day one because, hey, when it's all said and done, the games in April mean as much as they do in September. In fact, you win more games in April and May and June, you may have everything wrapped up by September 1st and be able to coast into the playoffs. But, Johnny Brito will give him some innings. Matt Waldron will give him some innings. Randy Vasquez got better. He'll give him some innings. And they got some guys that can move up and down from AAA to the big leagues. But if they want to legitimately have a shot to get to the World Series, not just make the playoffs, but get to the World Series and win it, they've got to go out and get one of these big name guys. I don't think there's any other way around it. And then you've got to figure out what you're doing behind the plate. And Higashioka's a nice fit, but not at $7.5 million in a 2-year, $15 million deal. That's not going to work for me at 35 years of age. I think the Padres are going to have to make a trade maybe to get a catcher in here. Or they'll sign, a minor league free agent and see if he can make it. Or they'll give Camposano another opportunity. Well, the catching situation to me is very critical because that has to be an integral part of your ball club. he's really the quarterback of your ball club, working with that pitching staff and working with the pitching coach and the manager. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, we'll get to that a little bit later. And again, later on in the program, we're going to go back to earlier in the week, some of the questions that you folks put on our YouTube comments line, and we're going to take a look at some of those. But right now, our weekly get-together with John Maffei from the San Diego Union Tribune. This man, as I've told you in the past, he wears a lot of different hats. And one of the hats he wears is really a guy that for many years is voted for postseason awards and also is a voting member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. And then we're going to get into talking about some of the great high school football games tonight. Mr. Maffei, a very happy Friday. I know this is just the start of your big day because you're going to be out there stalking the sidelines tonight till about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and then you get the opportunity to sit behind the keyboard and write about what you're watching.
Absolutely. I broke out the heavy jacket this morning, so I'm ready to go.
Okay, John, I want to jump around baseball-wise on several things, and I want to start with the postseason awards. They start coming down on Monday. I know the All-MLB team was announced yesterday, and a couple of days ago, the Silver Sluggers were given out. But, the real key big awards start on Monday. You got National League Rookie of the Year, American League Rookie of the Year Monday. Then you got the Managers of the Year in the AL and NL on Tuesday. You got the Cy Young, both leagues next Wednesday. And then finally, next Thursday, they will give out the American and National League Most Valuable Player. And I know that you're not allowed to right now until it's announced. But this year, you got to vote on the Rookie of the Year.
Yes. Every chapter of the Baseball Writers gets 2 votes in each category. So Scott Miller is our chairman of the San Diego chapter. And he and I'm the secretary treasurer for our chapter, and we get together and we dole out the votes as we see fit. And usually, Kevin Acee and Dennis Lynn and, Jeff Sanders, the guys who are there every day get the top awards, and, they'll vote MVP and Cy Young. And, and I have Rookie of the Year this year, which was tough. It was, I can't tell you how I voted, but it was a tough vote.
It's kind of interesting, and maybe next week we can talk about it because the hay will be in the barn at that point in time, and it'll be announced. But we had Scott Miller on earlier this week, and Scott didn't even tell me he had a Rookie of the Year vote. But what he did tell me is going to the World Series and talking to a lot of the national writers, he kind of got the feeling that Paul Skeens is going to win this award. Now, Paul Skeens had an incredible year. I mean, he started the year in the minor leagues. He comes up, and everything that he was said to be, he proved out on the mound. I mean, he made such an impression. He ended up starting the National League All-Star game. His numbers are like ridiculous. But at the end of the day, the kid from San Diego played every day from day one and had just a monster year.
Yes, and that there are 2 completely opposite ways to look at this. One was you have a guy who came up and pitched lights out, and then you have a kid who wasn't even supposed to be on the ball club, and he wasn't even supposed to play shortstop, let alone center field, and learns a new position and plays every day and wins games in the 9th inning. So there are 2 completely different ways of looking at it, and neither one is wrong. Both of them are right. It's just it's your perception of what you value. Do you value the pitching or do you value the hitting?
What's really interesting? In a normal year, the third member, Jackson Churio of Milwaukee,
yes,
he might win it. I mean, this kid had a heck of a year, and he's only 20 years of age. I mean, the 3 guys on the board for the National League and the Rookie of the Year are just amazing players.
Oh, yes. And, I mean, it may be the closest vote ever. And I have no idea how it's going to go, but I think it's going to be really, really close.
And on Tuesday, they're going to announce the National League manager there as well as the American League. But we're going to focus on the National League. You got Mike Schilt, who led the Padres to a 93-win season, second best in franchise history. You had Pat Murphy, who you and I both know. He was the interim skipper here with the Padres. He won 93 games with the Milwaukee Brewers and won a division title. And then Carlos Mendoza, who I'm a big fan of. I think he's got a chance to be one heck of a major league manager with the New York Mets, got his team in the playoffs. So what do you think on that one?
That to me, there's going to be an East Coast bias. So I would think Mendoza wins it. But, in my mind, it would come down to Murph and Schilt. And, we saw Schilt every day. He took a club that was kind of in disarray last year and fallen apart and melded that team, into a winner. That would be, that would be a tough vote. My vote, if I had a vote, would go to Schilt. But I could not fault anybody if they voted for Murphy or Mendoza.
What are your thoughts on the Cy Young in the National League? I mean, it looks on paper like it's probably going to be Chris Sale, but I look at Zach Wheeler's numbers, and I know Skeens is also one of the finalists, but I think he probably finishes third in the voting for the Cy Young. I mean, everybody right now, I think, figures Chris Sale's going to get it, but when you really dive into the numbers on Zach Wheeler, you know what? If he got it, I don't think people could argue too much.
Yeah, I think Chris Sale wins that easy. I think that's, that might be one of the easier votes, because I don't know if guys really dive in on some of these. I think they're pretty honest, but Sale's numbers are pretty eye popping, and what he did for the Braves, and on a good team, pitching tough ball games every time out.
I think the easiest vote in the National League is probably with the most valuable player. Would you agree?
Oh yes, I mean that. If that's not a sweep, then something's wrong.
And you know what? The other guys that are in the running, I mean, Francisco Lindor had a heck of a year, and Ketel Marte, the little second baseman over there with the Diamondbacks, I don't think many people realize he had 36 home runs.
Yes, and any other year that's you're right there, but not this year. That Ohtani was just too good.
All right, John, I want to talk about the Hall of Fame. I love the Hall of Fame. I remember when I was doing the show with Randy Jones many years ago, and Tom Glavine was, I don't know, 45 or 50 games away from winning 300. And I go, oh, Glavine's going to be a Hall of Famer. And Randy said to me one night, he goes, heck, Coach, they're going to have to build a new wing for the Hall of Fame. You want to put everybody in. But that's not necessarily the case. I mean, there's some guys that have gone in recently that I would probably have to kind of, it'd be a reach for me, okay?
Yeah.
But there's some guys on it used to be the Veterans Committee. The Hall of Fame Classic Era ballot is out right now.
Yes.
And there's some guys on there. There's eight players, couple from the Negro Leagues, one guy managed, but nobody really knows all of his stats as a player, even though he played apparently forever. And that's a hard one for me. I mean, you're assuming he did this, he did that, but you don't really know. We know what he did managing. He won 7 league championships and won a Negro League championship. That's one of them. But the guys that I really wanted to talk about were Dick Allen, Steve Garvey, Dave Parker, and Tommy John. Give me your thoughts on Steve Garvey, because Garvey's career numbers are really good, but his postseason numbers are ridiculously good.
Yes, and you and I have kind of gone round and round on this one. I love the Garv. I think he was great with the writers. He was a clutch player, much better defensively than everybody give him credit for. I just think he's in the hall of very, very good. I think he's just a little bit short. I would be happy for him if he did get in, but I think he's a little bit short. For me, if I could pick one of those guys, I'm a Dick Allen guy. I think Dick Allen's numbers are sensational, and slugging, and and he could run a little bit. He wasn't nearly as bad defensively as people say he was. I think, and Tommy John, they named a surgery after him. So how do you not give him consideration?
Well, if Tommy John wins 12 more games in his career, he won 288 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, he wins 12 more games, he's a slam dunk.
Yes. And honestly, I don't know why he didn't get in the first time. I could see Garvey, because the numbers are just right on the border. I'm kind of surprised that Dick Allen and Dave Parker didn't get in, in the first time around. And that's why this classic era committee has been formed, is kind of just to right some wrongs, that and get some guys whose numbers really do match up and really should be in.
Okay, let me make a case for Garvey, okay? And when I look at numbers of Hall of Famers, and I'm talking about some of the greats, a lot of them, they don't have great postseason numbers. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, here's Garvey's postseason numbers, just for the fans out there, because I know you've probably gone through this over the years. He played in 11 postseason series, 55 career games. And overall, he hit 338 in 222 at-bats in the postseason. 28 World Series games, he hit 319. 22 NLCS games, he hit 356. One NLDS because, they didn't play him early in his career. 5 games, he hit 368. I mean, those are eye-popping numbers to me in the postseason. He did it when the lights were the brightest.
Yes. And who could forget, 84 when he hits the home run off of Lee Smith, that, and he had base hits in that series that kind of were that flew under the radar. But yes, those are great numbers. But I again, his body of work, I think, is just a little short.
Okay, I'm going to stay with him just for a second, okay? Because I want the fans to know. And I don't know if anybody's going to agree with me or not. You're obviously not agreeing with me, which was okay. That's what's great about baseball, man. We talk about this guy should be in or this guy shouldn't be. That's good stuff. But 294 career average, 272 dingers, 1,308 RBIs. He still holds the National League record at 1,207 consecutive games and a 10-time All-Star. And wasn't he the MVP of the All-Star game at least once, if not twice?
Yes, and I don't have that. I'm not sure exactly, but yes, again, those are 1,300 RBIs. That's awfully good, but for me, he's a little short.
Oh, I think I'm starting to wear you down a little bit. Hey, let's talk about Dick Allen, because Dick Allen, let's face it, early in his career, he was considered a very controversial, lazy ball player. But from what I understand, Dick Allen was actually a hell of a guy.
Yes, and I can't say that I knew Dick Allen, but I had some interaction with him in clubhouses and post games, and I found him to be a very decent guy. Would answer questions after games. I had no problem with Dick Allen.
Well, actually, if you go back to 2021, he fell one vote short of being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And he passed away now a few years ago, and he'd go in posthumously. But when you think of power sluggers, you think of a guy back in the 60s and early 70s, a guy like Dick Allen. He had great years with Philly, but, he won an American League Most Valuable Player with the White Sox.
Yes. And I could see where, the one vote, he may not have been the favorite of the beat writers in his city. And I could see where, maybe a beat writer or two, looked at him and say, hey, the numbers are good, but that guy was a turd to me and I'm not going to vote for him. And, so he falls a vote short. And,
well, John, you talk about that, and fans will talk about that all the time about, these writers, that they hold things against players. And I think, I voted for a lot of awards in my radio career and my media career, and I have to really separate I've got to separate what I think of that guy as a person. I have to keep it on the field for me.
Yes, and it's hard when you get guys like Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent, guys who were considered turds, by the writers, and it is hard. You're only human, and if a guy makes your job difficult every day, we're a little separated. We're not Giants, beat writers, but those guys made the Giants beat writers' lives miserable, and so you could see where human frailty comes in there, and they go, I'm not voting for Jeff Kent. He's a turd. Yeah, it shouldn't happen, but it does.
What about the Cobra, Dave Parker? I got to be honest, he's one of my all-time favorite players. I mean, he won 2 batting titles, NL MVP, 2-time World Series champion, played for a long period of time. And I think there was a period of time where there was about a 5-year period where I think he was the best player in all of baseball.
He would, Dave Parker, one of the great left-handed sluggers of his time, and I imagine his numbers stack up pretty well against Dick Allen's, and are better than the Garves, and I can't see this the classic committee voting 3 guys in. It's going to be 1 or 2 of those guys, and the Negro League players, like you said, it's really hard on the Negro League players because stat keeping and reporting back in their day was not very good, and I think in my mind the committee, the Hall of Fame has done a really nice job of getting the most deserving Negro League players in, and I think now we're down to the guys that had been overlooked a little bit, and yes, he won 7 managing titles, but we don't have his numbers of what he hit. We can assume he was pretty good, but I just don't know if he gets in because there's not enough supporting evidence.
Yeah, Vic Harris, they said he hit 303, but we don't know that to be a fact. He was a player from 1922 to 1947, managed the Homestead Grays, 7 pennants, a Negro League World Series title, and then left-handed pitcher John Donaldson played pro ball or semi-pro ball for 42 seasons, 1908 to 1949, but we really, aside from some no-hitters and throwing a bunch of complete games, we have no idea what his record was, aside from Negro Leagues. They had him at 6-9, I think, but that was later in his life.
Yes, and that's hard, and there's something to be said for managing the Homestead Grays, because they were one of the legendary teams of the Negro Leagues, the Homestead Grays, the Indianapolis Clowns, the Kansas City Monarchs. You're managing those clubs, and you're managing at the top of the Negro League. So there's something to be said there. But again, it's really hard because there's a lot of evidence is missing.
John, I want to go back to Dave Parker just for a minute. I contend that Dave Parker's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame because he got involved in that drug scandal in Pittsburgh. If that doesn't happen, I think he's in 20 years ago.
Yes, and that you're probably right, and he didn't fall a whole lot of votes short. So everybody has their opinion on on the drug use and that era, and it only takes maybe 10 guys who go, I can't vote for him because his name came up, he was involved, and that's enough to keep you out.
Okay, let's go back to Tommy John. You think Tommy John's got a legitimate shot? I think so. I mean, he won 288 games, and they name a surgery after him.
Yes, and we've talked about this before about who who was the second guy to have that surgery, and if Tommy John had waited, it would be the Brent Strom surgery, and Brent Strom, as much as I love Brent and played against him and have watched it. I mean, he has turned into probably the one of the preeminent pitching coaches in all of baseball. But we wouldn't have this discussion because Brent's not a Hall of Famer. But Tommy John is I think it certainly is.
Hey, how about any thoughts on Ken Boyer? Ken Boyer was a great player in his era, but he falls short for me.
Yes, yeah. Again, Ken Boyer is in the Hall of Very Good. He was, and probably as good a defensive third baseman in his day as there was. A clutch hitter. Played for some really good Cardinal teams, and and in the World Series and a lot of postseason play. But Ken Boyer is comes up short for me.
How about Louis Tiant? 229 wins, 172 losses, a 3.30 ERA, 187 complete games.
That you don't have 187 complete games in the entire of all of Major League Baseball anymore, and and he had 187 in his career. But I mean, you got to look. 229 wins is awfully good, and more than 50 games over 500 in his career. So again, it might be for Tiant, the competition he's up against this year. How many guys will the committee put in? And it's the same vote as the regular Hall of Fame. You've got to get 75%, and I don't know if he has the backing.
It's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be announced in early December. Okay, John, now let's talk about high school football. I was looking at the matchups, and you made predictions for all the games tonight. And what did you do last week? You went, 16-8 last week in your prediction?
18-6.
18-6. Okay, I shorted you a couple there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was looking at the matchups tonight. You've got semifinals in the open division, and then the other divisions are quarterfinals. Some really nice quarterfinal matchups tonight. But let's talk about the open division to start. Let's start with a game up at La Costa Canyon. You've got La Costa Canyon, who's 10-0, going to host Cathedral Catholic, who, aside from that loss to Lincoln, have been bulldozing teams pretty good. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think Cathedral Catholic is a big, strong team. I picked them by the slightest margins here, and I have the utmost respect for La Costa Canyon. I think they're very well coached, and it may come down. This game's going to come down to a turnover, a holding call, a pass interference call. Not that the officials would be bad, but it's going to come down. It may come down to a 50-50 call by an official.
Tonight when you get to that game, the officials listen to my program, and they're probably going to give you a few comments prior to the kickoff tonight.
Well, yeah, and that's fine because the officials are part of the game, and I wouldn't want to do their job. They have a tough job. And I mean, what is holding? You could probably call holding on every play. Pass interference. They have a tough job, but you watch games, especially in the NFL, that left tackle is a split second early every down. And if they wanted to call procedure, they probably could. And, but I think, that it may come down to one controversial call. Did he fumble? Was he down or did he fumble? Something like that. I think that this game's that close that it's going to be, one or two key plays could turn this game.
All right. And the other open division game tonight will be the number one ranked team. And there's no doubt they're the number one team. And that's Lincoln. They're loaded, and they're going to be hosting Mission Hills, who I think is a good football team, but I don't think they really match up with Lincoln this year.
No, and Mission Hills probably better. Not probably. They were a better team last year. And I think Giovanni Hart, their tailback, I think is as good a back as there is in the county. He is the only way that Mission Hills wins tonight is if Giovanni Hart gets 35 carries, they control the clock, they don't turn it over, and they can get to Akili Smith Jr., the quarterback for Lincoln, if they can get to him and sack him 3, 4, 5 times, they've got a chance. But sacking Akili Smith is not an easy thing to do. Cathedral Catholic had him trapped probably 4 or 5 times in that game, and he escaped every time. And not only escaped, but got big yards. And, so you're going for, instead of a -7, it's a +18. And those are the plays that are backbreakers.
All right. And I want to remind everyone that La Costa game against Cathedral Catholic will be at La Costa tonight. They're saying it's sold out right now, but if you go there and talk to the people at the gate nicely, they may let you in. But that game's going to start at 7 o'clock tonight. And then the Mission Hills game against Lincoln is going to be at Southwestern College. That'll start at 7 o'clock. John, let's take a look at some games in the quarterfinals in Division 1 tonight. I want to start with Mount Miguel going on the road to El Camino. Mount Miguel's awful good, but I think El Camino might be able to match up with them.
Yes, El Camino has just had a really up and down season, and it's going to be, again, that game could come down to to 1 or 2 big plays, a turnover, a slip on the grass as you're making a cut. I think Mount Miguel gets them, but I wouldn't be at all stunned if El Camino comes up with a big win there.
How about Eric Weddle and the Rancho Bernardo Broncos, 9-2 at number 2 Carlsbad, 7-3.
That one, that's going to be a good game. Carlsbad, not as good as they were last year, but still very good. And Rancho Bernardo 9-2, and I saw them. I've seen them twice. I saw them beat La Jolla, and then I saw them get beaten up by San Marcos. And I'm picking Carlsbad here because of what I saw against San Marcos. They got picked apart by a team that can throw the ball, and Eli McNeil from Carlsbad is a very nice junior quarterback. I think he gets the upper hand in that one.
All right, the last game I'm going to ask you about, we could go through them all, but we don't have the time on the show to do that. I got to ask about my Falcons. I saw them beat Scripps Ranch last week. I actually saw them earlier in the year shut out Rancho Bernardo 3-0. That threw high school football back a few years, back to the 60s, but they won that game. Falcons played very well against a good Scripps Ranch team that had only lost 1 game until last week, but They got to go down to Valley Stadium tonight and take on Granite Hills. I think with the Falcons defense, they can probably hang in there. Not sure that they can score enough to beat Granite Hills, but it could be a competitive game, I think.
It could be. Granite Hills scored 90 points, 2 weeks ago, and they're not going to score 90 against Torrey Pines. I can't even see them getting half of that. But I think they'll get 28-31. And I don't know if Torrey can hang with them. I agree with you 100% there. I think Torrey's had a great run. They play great defense, but Zach Benitez, the sophomore quarterback for Granite Hills, is he can get rattled if you put the pressure on him, and I'm sure that's what they'll do. That Torrey will come after him, but Max Turner is a really nice running back for Granite Hills, and if they come after him, they could get hit with screens and draws, and Max can have a big night.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting down to brass tacks now in the playoffs, and again, the Open Division, it's a semifinal. So a week from tomorrow night, Saturday the 23rd, they'll have the Open Division championship at Snapdragon Stadium. Hopefully, that turf is taking hold.
Hopefully, we'll have some grass to play on.
Absolutely. Hey, John, have a good time tonight, and thanks for the time today, as always.
John, thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.
There you go. John Maffei talking a little bit of postseason awards, talking Hall of Fame, and talking high school football. Always enjoy that segment. Okay, we're going to go back to earlier in the week. I asked you to, send comments, and we can't get to all the comments. I do read them all. But we're going to put a few up right now. I'm going to read a few, and it's regarding the Padres and Roki Sasaki. I mentioned earlier in the program, the bottom line, the Padres, if they really want to contend to get to the World Series, and win the World Series, they got to go out and get a frontline starter, whether it's Corbin Burns, whether it's Max Fried, whether it's bringing back Blake Snell, or when Roki Sasaki is posted, and we do believe he's going to be posted. You've got to get one of those guys in here to go along with what you've already got. But let's take a look at some of these, and I'm going to close out the program after this with talking a little bit about Sean Lewis and the Aztec football program. Okay, let's see. Old Haynes. Dodgers provide stability for Roki in his first 6 years where he can look forward to playing with Otani, Moto, and managed by Roberts, half Japanese, who pretty much gave himself a life contract by winning the 2024 World Series. Well, you would think if you're in Japan right now and all the Dodger games are on television and everybody's running around with Otani t-shirts and jackets and jerseys, and then Yamamoto goes over the United States, and granted he got hurt, but he still went 7-2 and had a very good year and pitched well in the playoffs. You're going to go to where you feel comfortable. Now, Yu Darvish is 39 years of age. How much longer is Yu Darvish going to be with the Padres? So that's something to consider right there. We'll have to wait and see. He will be a blank Dodger. Bummer, but it's true. I think it's 70-30, maybe 80-20 that he goes to the Dodgers, but the Padres do have a chance. And you know what? A.J. Preller will do everything possible to get him here. They will put together an incredible presentation for Roki Sasaki. I guarantee it, 100%. JD's third. Yeah, he doesn't want to play with his grandpa, meaning you. He's young and hungry. He wants to win as many championships as possible for his big free agency, and he made a six-man rotation, an organization with proven history of player development, and a team that will continually spend money to win. Gee, where can he get these things? You know what's interesting? And I didn't map it out, but I was looking at a Dodger rotation for next year, a six-man rotation, and Kershaw wasn't even a part of it. And now they're talking about trying to sign Walker Buehler and put him in the bullpen. I wonder how that's going to go. Could you imagine Walker Buehler coming out of the bullpen? I mean, you'd have to pay him. And I don't know. Walker Buehler may go 1 year for $15 million and then try to go out on the free agent market again. Oh, the other thing I heard, and I don't know how much validity I can put into this. You know, we were talking about Ha-Seong Kim going to the Giants. There was a story yesterday, I think it was Bleacher Report had it, saying that Ha-Seong Kim could sign a 1-year deal for $14 million to play shortstop for the Dodgers. Wouldn't that be something? We'll have to wait and see on that. Mike Lopez, the Dodgers are spending $100 million just to renovate their home clubhouse and are making more room for Japanese sponsors advertising. Well, not only are they renovating the home clubhouse, they're also doing that for the visiting clubhouse. Dodgers, they just print money. I mean, that TV contract that they got a number of years ago is just like amazing. Amazing. And Otani is already starting to pay for himself, which is mind-boggling to me. I mean, there's so much money out there. I'm just waiting for when it's going to be announced that Sasaki is going to be posted. And then there's a 14 or 45-day window to where teams can negotiate with him. Abraham, can we restructure Machado's contract alongside Xander's, please? No. Those guys are here until they're done. I mean, they both have no trades, and they're here till 2033, both of them. And in the last few years of that deal, it's going to add up with Xander, Machado, and Fernando. At that time, will be making $36 million. And Fernando's contract runs out in 2034. Between three players for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, there's going to be about $96 million between those three guys. JB, call me crazy, but I think the Padres should give the Diamondbacks a call and get Montgomery. Make Arizona pay majority of contract. Think the able can help Montgomery. Okay, a couple of things. We know Ken Kendrick, the owner of Arizona, you know, just lambasted Montgomery. Mike Hayes and the general manager had to do some damage control. And now I understand Montgomery is working on getting in the best shape of his life because there was a player option, and he picked up the player option. He had a miserable year. He came in, he was out of shape, wasn't ready to pitch, and had a miserable year, and the owner just banged on him hard. Just said worst signing he's ever had. And then the general manager had to go back and kind of soothe over everything. But he had a terrible year. I mean, I know if you don't go to spring training, I mean, you couldn't sign early and get into spring training. If I'm a player, if I'm a free agent player, put the best offers on the table right now. And I'm giving you 72 hours, put the best offer on the table. And if I don't like the offer, then maybe I won't take it. If there's 3 offers and I don't like it and they're not fair or what I deem fair, then I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I'll give you another opportunity. But I want to know where I'm going. I mean, I want my family to know where I'm going. I want to know where my kids are going to be going to school. So there you go. Okay. Now, last thing we're going to get to, and we'll be back in Monday. I want to talk about the Aztecs a little bit. I've been reading some things that I don't like. Now, the Aztecs play tomorrow night over at UNLV, and they're going to get beat. I don't see them beating UNLV. I mean, right now they're a 20.5-point underdog. They're averaging UNLV 43.6 points a game. The Aztecs 22 points a game. I don't see the Aztecs the way they're playing right now being able to beat UNLV. UNLV 7-2 overall, 3-1 in conference play. I mean, they're a good football team. The Aztec fast offense has been in slow motion. This is not gone the way Sean Lewis would like. It's not gone the way you would have liked or the way I would have liked. I was hoping for 6-6 overall. Well, you know what? They got to run the table. They got 3 games left. They got UNLV. Then next week they're at Utah State, and then they close it out November 30th at home against Air Force. Those 2 games, Utah State, Air Force, are winnable. Tomorrow night's game, I'm not sure. But the thing that's bugging me, and I've talked to a lot of people, this NIL, and we could talk until we're blue in the face. I've been talking to college basketball coaches, and they've been telling me, Coach, you can't believe what we're having to deal with right now. And I can only imagine what it's like in football. I saw a story, a young man, it's the number 1 rated recruit in the country, quarterback. He's supposed to go to LSU and was ready to go to LSU. And now apparently Michigan has come in and said, hey, we'll give you $10.5 million for 4 years. That's what's going on. So rather than sit back and criticize Sean Lewis, why don't you write a 10 or 25 or $50 check or whatever you can afford to the NIL program at San Diego State? If you're an alum, whether you're at San Diego State or at USD or a UCSD, help the program out. They'll take whatever you can give. They've got to build up their NIL funds. But I'm reading on these chat boards that I don't go on very often. The only reason I went on it the other day is I heard Sean Lewis was getting beat up. Sean Lewis is in his first year. There were 48 guys that came in this year. There were 42 that left when Brady Hoke got let go. And Brady Hoke needed to get let go. He was collecting a check, and him and his staff were not working their tail off the way you need to work it. And they needed to make that change. That was an easy change. But there was not a whole lot left. And then they had 42 guys go out the door. Some good players, some bad players, some guys that could never play, probably should have never been at State to begin with. Because State was kind of taking guys they could get rather than really working hard in recruiting. Now Sean Lewis has got to come in. He got to bring in 48 new players. Got a freshman quarterback who's playing his tail off and doing the best he can, trying to put this program into place. You got to give him 3 years. Now, next year at this time, towards the end of the year, I would hope they'd already be bowl eligible, and I would hope that we could sit back and say, hey, they're making a lot of progress. Boy, it's been a good year. And Danny O'Neill's doing a great job as a sophomore quarterback at that time. And then you're starting to think, oh, man, you get a couple of weapons here, man, his junior and senior, they could really be good. You got to give Sean Lewis and his staff some time. They got to continue to recruit. The university has to continue to find a way to get NIL money. Not going to be easy. And the other thing you fear is you develop a lot of these young players that Power 4 or Power 5, whatever you want to look at the Pac-12 right now, they're going to come in and try to rob you of players. I mean, it's a revolving door right now. But don't sit back and criticize Sean Lewis right now when he's coaching his ass off. The only thing that's bugging me about Coach Lewis right now, because I think he's a good guy, And I think he's passionate. I think he's aggressive. But now that things are starting to unravel a little too much coach speak. Be honest. Hey, you know what? We're coaching. Guys are learning at this level. It's not easy. But don't give me a lot of the coach speak. Okay? We didn't play up to our standards. Well, I don't know what your standards are right now. Just go out and play. But don't give me so much coach speak. Just be honest and say, hey, you know what? We got a long ways to go here. But we're working our tail off. Our guys are working hard. Our coaches are recruiting hard. And let's see where it goes. And again, I don't expect a positive result tomorrow night against UNLV. I do expect a positive result against Utah State and Air Force. They should be able to win those games. They, may end up 5-7. I'd like to be 6-6 and be bowl eligible, but I just don't see that happening. WK, SDSU, and many other programs are in a tough position. If you don't have the cash, tough to compete. I'm telling you right now, some of the stories I'm hearing from basketball coaches, just unbelievable. I mean, you got to meet with like advisors and agents now to talk to these kids. It's mind-boggling to me. But anyways, we'll pick that up on Monday. I thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the program. Again, please subscribe to the program, and we'll look forward to visiting with you on Monday. It's going to be a big weekend, and we'll recap it. I'm really excited. Monday's going to be great because we're going to find out if Jackson Merrill's going to win that National League Rookie of the Year. And on Tuesday, we're going to find out about Mike Schilt, whether or not he's the National League Manager of the Year. But again, thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the program. And again, it's all free. You can follow me on Facebook at John Quintera and on X at Coach Quintera 484. Have a great Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Talk to you Monday. Be safe. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.